Hi, so this is one that I did a blog post on a while back. It's how to turn a round neck or high neck t-shirt into a v-neck t-shirt, because that's how I prefer my tops to be. And I did a blog post on it and it proved to be really popular, so I thought I'd do a video on it to make it a bit easier to see if it was kind of hard to see on the photographs. So this is the t-shirt. It's one that my boyfriend got me a while ago, and I just haven't worn it because although it fits, it's got a really high neck and I just think that it's too high and it's kind of uncomfortable. So all I'm going to do today is turn it into a v-neck, and then hopefully I'll get some more wear out of it. So all I'm using is some scissors, a seam or stitch ripper, and then I've got some pins. And then I'll also use a sewing machine. If you don't have a sewing machine, obviously you need a needle and thread, but it's so much easier on a sewing machine. So to start off, all I'm going to do is I'm going to unpick the collar, this part of the collar, just around the front of the t-shirt. So I'm just going to cut the stitches using my seam ripper, but just on the front. I'm going to leave it attached at the back of the collar. So I'm just going to take these stitches off now. So I used the seam rippers to undo all the stitches, and so now the front part of the collar is completely taken off, and I also went through and got rid of all the extra little bits of thread that were hanging around, but I've left the back attached. Now the next step is to decide how deep of a V you want the collar to actually be. Now because I'm not actually going to be creating a new collar, I'm just going to be using the existing collar and just stretching it into place. I can't really take that much fabric away, and I can't really make it to be a really deep V because the existing collar just won't stretch that far. But jersey, it is jersey, and jersey does have some stretch to it, so I know like it'll stretch, you know, quite a way. But I'm just going to maybe take it down about 1.5 inches. So I find the easiest thing to do is actually fold the t-shirt in half and just line it all up, and that way you can find the middle point, because that's obviously where you want the V to actually finish, unless you want it to be like an asymmetrical collar, which I guess you could do, but I don't want to do that. So then you just find the centre line here, and I'm just going to mark with a pin actually where I want the V to go down to. Okay, so I've just marked there where I want, that's where I want the end of my collar to be, or the middle part of my collar to be. So now all I've got to do is basically connect this bottom point here to the top here in a straight line, and do the same on the other side, and that's where my new collar is going to sit. That's what I'll do now. So this pin here marks as low as I want my new V-neck collar to be, and that is the centre point. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut from the existing collar downwards to meet the pin, because that's where I want my new collar to finish. So now what I need to do, now that I've made that cut, is I need this point here, the bit that I've just cut, to meet up with the old line of the collar. So I want to keep this point here in the same place, and that's kind of where my shoulder meets my neck, and I kind of want to keep that in the same place. And this curves around a little bit, and then at about here I can just go in a straight line down to that point where I've just cut. So I'm going to keep the original line, and then I'm going to cut straight down there to make it into a V. And then I'm going to cut the other side in the same way, trying to get them to be even. Okay, so it's not perfectly straight, but it'll do, and the edges will be covered up by the collar. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the existing collar and I'm just going to stretch it. It's jersey and it should stretch. Just stretch it out a bit. And just lay it on top of the V-neck that I've just cut, the V shape that I've just cut, to check whether or not it will actually fit. And as you can see, once it's been stretched, it does actually give, and it has become longer. So now what I need to do is sew the collar back onto the neck. So before I reattach the collar to the t-shirt, what I need to do is just to get rid of this scruffy edge is to just actually fold it underneath. So just very like a millimetre or 2 millimetres, folding it over. Trying to keep the point at the end though, not lose that in the fold. Make a tiny little incision that should help fold it over. And you can pin it in place if you want, but I'm not going to bother. I'm going to pin it to the collar though, so the collar just goes just underneath with the t-shirt, the folded bit of t-shirt just on top, and then I'm going to pin that in place. So I've pinned the existing collar, the original collar, onto the new V-neck of the t-shirt that I've cut, as you can hopefully see. I did find that I had a little bit of excess t-shirt, I think because I hadn't stretched the collar enough, and like I said, it will stretch, it will give, but it is kind of limited, so if you cut a really deep V, you're going to find you end up with too much t-shirt and not enough collar left. So there's a few millimeters, maybe 5 millimeters there, and what I did was I just made sure the excess was on the shoulder, which is somewhere that no one's going to see. You know, my hair will end up covering it up and no one's really going to look there, so it's not really going to be that much of an issue. If there had been more than that, then what I would have done is I would have had to unpin it, and then I would have really stretched the collar out even more and then repinned it to make sure that it was even. Apart from that, when I was pinning it, I just tried to make sure that I got it as neat as possible, but also tried to make it as even as possible. I mean, it's not perfect, but just to make sure that there was kind of a equal amount of the collar showing, you know, because it's ribbed, so it's quite nice to have that kind of contrast to the t-shirt, so just make sure that there was enough of the collar showing. And now when I sew it, I'm just going to make sure that the sewing machine goes through the t-shirt and through the collar to make sure that they're securely fastened, and that the t-shirt remains folded over at the edge. And that's it. I'm going to change the thread on my sewing machine to red, and then I'm going to start sewing it using just a simple running stitch, really easy. I forgot how horrible it is to sew jersey, and that's one thing. You think that it would be a really easy fabric to sew because so much is made out of jerseys, like t-shirts and tops that are really simple design, but actually I think it is horrible because it's stretchy, and you stretch it and then it'll all stretch out of shape, and jersey has this way of kind of wriggling around and it curls up at the ends, and it was a bit of a nightmare, and my sewing machine was having a bit of a thing at the same time. So this isn't the neatest sewn collar, but this is the finished result. Yeah, so I'm pleased with it. It's definitely a V. Like I said, it's not super neat, but I don't think people will really notice, and it just means that I can wear it because I really don't like things around my neck. So this is the finished result.